Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast.
That is really catching on out there.
Remake edition.
Yeah.
It's getting there. It's going to be all the rage.
It's a cage
match.
match.
I've not heard anybody do 3, 2, 1 as well as we do it. So that's all I'm going to say.
No.
And that's how many viewers we have. 3, 2. Now we're down to 1.
But they're loyal.
Well, you know how true that is.
That is
amazing.
That fan is loyal.
Wow.
Kelly will be watching.
That's
okay,
right.
good. So tonight we're doing a remake. It's another one of Chris's fabulous dual films here.
Well, this has become the Chris show.
So
Chris is like, oh my God, I didn't think it was Jackal.
Yes.
I thought it was another film.
I thought it was Die Hard with a Vengeance. I don't know what happened.
So we'll talk about these two films. Then we'll do a round of What'd You Watch? And then we'll spin again for next week's classic remakes. All right. So, Chris.
Can I, before we do that, can I bring up a death that just happened?
Okay.
Barry Newman of Vanishing Point in Petrocelli.
Oh.
He just passed away.
Wow.
So I think he was 93 years old. So great life, But
Can I
Yes, Sean.
say one thing about Vanishing Point?
What?
Saw it at the drive-in, second feature. The first film I saw.
With boobs, right?
With boobs. The girl riding up on the motorcycle.
Nice.
Yeah, you bring that up every time we bring up Vanishing Point.
I think Barry would have been
that's
happy
your
that you brought that
touchdown.
up.
Wow.
And Petrocelli was a good
It was
show,
my
too, so-
clue.
He
Rest
was also
in peace.
he was in something like a serious film.
Well, he was
He's
in
done a
Twin
lot.
Peaks.
I know
I
he's
think
done a
he
lot.
was in Twin Peaks. He did a bunch of
he's
stuff.
done a lot. But yeah, definitely childhood Petrocelli was a big one.
Yeah.
In my youth.
My Ute.
All right, so Chris, tell me, what do you got? What do you got this time?
Well, I have 2 films.
Bullet in the head.
Exactly. 2 films about political assassinations, right? And extremely talented assassins that are pulling off these particular
2
killings. Yes. The first one is 1973's Day of the Jackal, based on Frederick Forsyth's The Day.
There it is.
Anyway, the Day of the Jackal novel. And if you watch the original trailer, it's one of those great trailers that starts with a copy of the book, and it's like, last year's number one best-selling novel is this year's greatest thriller kind of thing. It's directed by Fred Zinnemann, the 73 version, and stars Edward Fox, who at the time was not a big star. Right, he was actually kind of a no-name, and that was one of the reasons why Zinnemann chose him. He wanted kind of a nondescript, or at least a non-famous face, to play the titular Jackal, who's supposed to be this guy that can, blend in and evade, security services and policemen and all that stuff. What's really interesting about the Day of the Jackal is that it's basically based in It's historical fiction almost. It's basically based about a group of when in the 60s, Charles de Gaulle, famous general from World War II France, he led the French Legion and everything out of Germany, or out of France when Germany took over. He was president. He pulled out of Angola, right, which was one of the last Algeria, which was like one of the last big French colonies. And many of the French soldiers felt they had been betrayed by de Gaulle, so much so that they tried to kill him more than once. And those are true facts. Those actually happened. They tried to assassinate him. Eventually that cabal of soldiers was eventually broken up. Most of them were either executed or sent to jail, at least the ringleaders were. But in this movie, it's the last gasp of the OAS, as they called themselves, and their attempt is they hire a professional to an outsider, somebody that nobody knows, and it's the Jackal. And what's really great about the original version is that it is a really meticulous film, right? Most of this movie is spent in like libraries and places of, public record and things like that. They're going to the what do you call it? The passport office. They're going to all these different places.
Death records and
exactly, and it really kind of gets into the minutia of what it would be like to try to pull something like this off. One of the great scenes, and it's the scene behind John, is where he has a custom weapon designed, and it's this rail thin, and it's very fragile looking. But anyway, so the movie is about the Jackal who sets an exorbitant price of $500,000 American dollars because he's like, I can never work again after this. I don't
know. It's a great resume item.
Yeah, you would think so, right? He'd be in high demand in that world. But anyway, it's all about his preparation in an attempt to assassinate de Gaulle. And the funny thing is, it's a super great movie. There is not very much what you would call action in this film at all.
Oh, it's a character study. I mean,
it's all tension. It's all race against the clock. It's all we've got to figure it out. I can say I actually saw this movie when I was young, like a kid. I was watching, as often, UHF Channel 20 out of DC, and I actually came in the part where Edward Fox is testing out the rifle on the melons.
Oh, yeah.
The scene I saw. And then when he shoots that melon and it just explodes, I was in for the rest of the movie. And then, of course, it's one of those ones where I went back, I found it on videotape at the local video store and watched the whole thing. We're going to contrast that with 1997's super 90s film just called The Jackal, which actually, interestingly enough, right before his death, Fred Zinnemann went to the producers of The Jackal and said, you really can't call this The Day of the Jackal. Frederick Forsyth actually had his name taken off of it. It says just inspired by or based on the screenplay from Day of the Jackal. It does not mention Forsyth's novel.
I'm sure he got money.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, I'm sure he cashed the check, right? But the interesting thing about
John, that milkshake sounds delicious.
Thank you. Debbie couldn't make it, but she gave me a milkshake.
No, that's cool.
So the interesting thing about The Jackal is it is so 90s.
Yeah.
It is about as 90s as it gets. But one of the things I liked about The Jackal, as opposed to Day of the Jackal.
Really?
Yeah, one of the things I liked about it, and I don't mean this to say that it's better than Day of the Jackal.
Okay.
That the Day of the Jackal is a stone cold masterpiece. The Jackal has some fun stuff in it. Let me put it that way. And one of the things I really enjoyed was Bruce Willis playing like a straight up bad guy. I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that. Interestingly enough, in that movie, it's very different. They have a bunch more characters. And instead of it being like an actual historical figure, what happens is in the late 90s, when we were friends with the Russians, a Russian oligarch or Russian crime lord's brother gets killed.
It's a Russian mafia, right?
Yeah. Crime guy his brother gets killed. So he decides that he's going to take his vengeance on the FBI by hiring this assassin, the Jackal, to kill somebody in the United States. And at first, everyone thinks it's the FBI director. It's the director.
It's definitely not de Gaulle, Sean.
Exactly.
They had that great scene where they showed who they think might be getting killed, and you see Tess Harper's picture just on the side. Mm-hmm. You see that she's in the movie, and they don't make a big deal out of it. But then they glance over her picture and go to the director's picture.
Exactly.
And you're going, oh, okay, nice try.
But like I said, one of the things I liked about The Jackal is that they didn't just try to remake Day of the Jackal. They didn't just try to remake it in the United States in the 90s. They said, we're going to do something very different. They're going to add a bunch of new characters, some of whom are less than well. Richard Gere's accent's really, really bad. Like, I don't understand. One thing I'm going to throw this out here before we all jump into this thing is that how is it that you hear Richard Gere, he can't do the Irish accent. Why don't you just throw in a line of dialogue? Sean, you'll back me up on this. That says, he's been in the States for 25 years, either in prison or working in the States. So, that makes sense. He wouldn't have much of an accent left over here that long. But anyway.
Well, he probably wanted to
Kevin
do it.
Costner did in Robin Hood.
Yeah, exactly. So, interestingly enough, though,
or Lon Chaney Jr. in The Wolfman.
Yeah. Day of the Jackal was actually not as big as a success as they had hoped. Believe it or not, Fred Zinnemann was disappointed in the success, and he later said that he thought maybe him casting basically an unknown as the Jackal might have been a bad idea. While on the other hand, the Jackal was actually a modest success. You know, it had like a $60 million, what do you call it, budget, pulled in about 150 million worldwide. But it's one of those interesting ones where it only pulled in a little over 50 million in the United States, and it made most of its money overseas. Interesting.
Well, that's because they could dub someone else's accent in over.
Bruce Willis wanted 70 million for the hit. So
yeah, I know, that's a lot, right?
That's inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 500,000 to 70 million.
American
times. But
now it wouldn't be American, but
yeah, exactly. But so this is one of those films where I remember when it came out, I was like, I had always loved Day of the Jackal, and I went to see it, and it just felt like everything, like a lot of remakes, has to be bigger. And I think that was most obviously done with the gun, right? There's a lot of stuff put into the gun in the original Day of the Jackal, and it's designed to be broken down and hidden, while the other one is this gigantic cannon that's designed to shoot down like aircraft or something like that. And that's what he's going to use to make a big show of the assassination. Oh, other nice thing, one little side note, the Jackal is the last acting job for Sidney Poitier.
Right.
He's appeared.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, he appeared in a few documentaries and things like that after 97. But that
talk
was
about ending on a sour note.
No, he was.
He added some gravitas. He was good in the movie.
He was better in Sneakers.
He's not the problem.
No,
he was
it's
better
the
in
same part he
Sneakers.
had in Sneakers.
He was
good.
better in Sneakers.
I loved him in Sneakers.
Yeah, no, he was not the problem with this film at all. Richard
No,
Gere,
that it was made was the
What?
problem.
There were a couple problems. I think we'll
we'll get into
outline
that.
a
But
few of them.
yeah, but
so
let's
who here had seen both before this setup?
I have.
I had as well. So
I did not. I watched
I didn't
Day
see
of the
the
Jackal
original.
first.
Yeah.
I had seen the Jackal in the movie theater,
Mhm.
and I had never. I know I had seen the Day of the Jackal as a kid, long time, but I didn't remember any of it. And then I watched it again for this. And boy, it's there were some scenes in that again, audiences back then really just bought anything that anybody did.
Well, Ralph, there was
Day
a
of the
lot of
Jackal?
boob in that. You like
a lot
that.
of boo, but that
Yeah.
scene where he murders the woman in bed, the woman. Does he poison her or choke her?
I told you he choked her. He did not.
Yeah, but it
poison
took
her.
2 seconds. She was dead.
No, it
in
took
within-
longer
He's
than
very
two.
good at murder.
I guess he
I
is.
actually thought those scenes, the way he killed people, other than the one he karate chopped, because they really didn't show, like the guy he was with, they went in the kitchen, and that woman, all you see is them kind of hugging. I thought that was far more disturbing than if he outright shot her or stabbed her or anything. I really liked that.
No,
in
but
this
I mean,
movie.
it was just like he just rolls over and he whispers in her ear and she's dead in
Oh,
2 seconds.
He was
or something.
strangling her.
Okay. Do you know how long it takes to? Well, I don't really. Know
I
how
don't
long
know,
it takes,
Ralph.
but
Do
I
you know?
assume-
How
I
long
assume
does it
takes-
take, Ralph?
I think it must take at least 4 or 5 minutes.
I have
mean,
to tell you, Chris.
promising young woman, how long did it take
Technique
her
is terrible.
I saw the Jackal a long time ago, and I hated it then. I did not rewatch it because I hated it the first time, and I thought I had seen the Day of the Jackal because I've seen clips from it, I guess.
Sure.
So I watched the whole thing. I really liked it. I liked the procedural part of it. I liked his character. There were things I didn't understand, like he makes a big point that if I'm compromised, the mission's over, right? Well, they knew his face, they knew his car, they knew, so that didn't work. The other thing I couldn't understand, he's so good that he anticipated having to repaint his car. So he had paint and a spray gun in his car after an accident. I didn't understand that. But the rest of it, I really liked that. The police lieutenant who was Drax in Moonwalker, Moonraker.
Moonraker, yeah.
I was like, oh, I know that guy. And Derek Jacobi was in it too.
Yeah,
I
great
liked
cast.
the fact that it was quiet, but it was much more about the methodology of the assassin, but also how are they going to catch this guy? Because everyone knows Charles de Gaulle didn't get assassinated, so he's not going to get away with it. So how did they figure that out? I really liked that, and it was definitely an English movie. It felt very English, and it was a little slow paced, but I didn't mind that because it was more procedural, where I just found the Jackal loud and annoying. And I don't disagree with you that seeing Bruce Willis play a bad guy, was kind of, interesting because it was so against type for him. But it was just a loud, bombastic. And again, we're talking about a remake, right? If the Day of the Jackal never existed and you saw this movie, maybe you'd think differently about it. Well, yeah, but it just wasn't.
Why would
good.
you not think differently if the other one never existed? Because it wasn't that bad.
Because to Chris's point, it's a typical 90s action movie.
I know you
now
did.
I'm saying to a classic movie, and it's like there's no comparison.
Well, there were lines directly.
I know,
same lines. And
yeah, I know, but. So I'm glad you did this because it made me watch the first one, which I really, really did like.
Well,
that's my little.
No, it's a procedural. I enjoyed Day of the Jackal. I like those kind of movies where you're seeing spies from both sides. I mean, it really is. And the guy that's Michael Lonsdale, the guy who played the weird detective that bugged everybody. Drax. Well, he was also in Ronin too. He was in Ronin, that movie with Robert De Niro.
Oh yeah, great role in there at the end.
So I mean, I liked it.
That
guy.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I liked his character. I liked who he was. The quirky
when he bugged
dude.
everybody.
Yeah.
He had that great line where it's like, one thing you got to know is for a limited amount of time, we are the second most powerful men in France. Because they could get whatever they wanted to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah. And Derek Jacobi was his assistant, right?
Yep.
Is that his name? Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I just couldn't. It's so in its time, like a little bit of boob, a little bit of murder. You don't really see any. They're not showing anything graphic as far as the murders go. That one guy, the forger. What did he do? Karate chop that guy and threw him in
his neck.
Broke his neck, and but like with like it's the Michael Myers karate chops he was doing in his film. Austin Powers. It's that
karate chop.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Halloween, and I got super confused.
Yeah, Mike Myers goes by Michael Myers.
Yeah,
also,
I was like, what's happening?
Did I say Michael Myers?
You did.
Oh my God, I'm terrible. It's ridiculous. But I will say the scene with the Jackal and Jack Black, and he tests that gun.
Yeah,
I mean that makes the movie. That is the movie.
It's
right
lively.
there.
That's my favorite.
So
scene
good.
in the
Bruce
movie.
Willis is so good in that, and so is Jack Black. I just love it.
And I read Jack Black ad-lib most of that. They said just be annoying.
Yeah, annoy Bruce. Keep annoying him.
Yeah.
But when he was holding the thing, it's like hold the cigarette pack. He's kind of holding it like this, or even if he could shoot it, it's going to hit his hand, rather than like.
Well, he was gone either way. When he said run, he knew he was done.
Right.
I mean,
but he stopped and held.
But again, it's the audacity of like him and the forger trying to get money out of the other guy too. It's like you're messing with the wrong dude. I mean, do they know who they're messing with?
It's like the old plot where someone kills someone and someone sees it and someone is going to blackmail the murderer, and then they're always shocked when the murderer is going to kill them. It's like, why didn't I see that coming?
But that's the only set piece that I thought made that movie even interesting. Yeah.
Didn't you like when they shoot at Tess Harper? He fires the gun, the bullets are leaving it, and then Sidney Poitier starts, flying in front of him. And strangely, he manages to knock her down. He's going faster than this bullet.
He's a very good actor.
Yeah, that
movie magic.
It.
But I mean, it's really impossible.
He intimidated the bullets.
Why anybody wants to remake these? We say this every time we do this now. I can't think of a remake that we've done yet that you go, the remake was better than the original, right?
I thought Dracula was okay.
Well, maybe Dracula, I'd argue that one too. I would argue that based on that other film. But I don't know. It's like, it's pretty daunting to go and remake one of these. And then go, well, it's going to be different. We're going to have the Irish guy in here, the IRA. Is that IRA? Is that the right?
Yeah, he's an IRA.
And
he's
the
not
whole
a terrorist,
revenge.
he's a soldier.
The fact that it's the woman that ends up killing Bruce Willis or shooting him. It's Richard Gere ends up killing him, but he does. She's part of it. That was a surprise for me. I was surprised at that one.
I was just surprised that I had forgotten that she was in Life Force. That actress.
That's not her,
amazing.
is it?
Oh yes, it is.
Matilda
That's
May?
her.
That's Matilda May from Life Force.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about a seminal, formative.
Well, I think because she had clothes on, I didn't recognize.
Yeah,
That may very well be.
that's amazing. I did not know that.
Yeah, Matilda May.
Her husband, the guy playing her husband, was a powerful actor too. That guy was. It's like it's almost impossible for them to try to pull that off and not be cheesy. I mean, you can't do it. Right?
One of the things that it's funny because we talked about this with Get Carter and between the two versions.
Yeah.
In both of these cases, the 70s versions of these films are far more sexy, right?
Yes.
There
No
is
doubt.
more, sexual,
Say it, just
Innuendo,
stuff,
yeah.
stuff going on, right?
boobs, man.
Like especially in this
You
movie,
can say tan lines.
it was very, very, and I think I used the word for the Get Card remake, chaste. I mean, there's the one sequence with, Bruce Willis in the gay bar where he's picking up that guy, so he has a house to go to as opposed to a hotel to check into.
Because they'll be checking those little cards.
Yeah, because that was a big part of the original version was the hotel cards, finding out who's in the hotels and things like that. And Edward Fox does the same thing. His Jackal does the same thing. He goes to a Turkish bath, meets the guy there, heads back there, kills the guy off screen, or at least in the other part of the kitchen, and then so he's got a base of operations where no one's going to be able to find him. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, I mean, one thing I did like about the newer version was the fact that they did try to mix it up a little bit. They tried to change things up, but it wasn't. I don't think it was successful. As far as like being a good movie. But I at least like the fact that they tried. Sometimes when I watch a movie that's like a straight remake or even super duper faithful to a book, I'm like, what's the point of just remaking it? And obviously the most obvious example is the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's in color now.
Yeah, exactly. It was in color.
But I mean, like, look at In the Line of Fire. That was a great film about an assassin.
Yeah.
They did such a much better job of it with, not that gigantic gun. And Malkovich was so good in that role,
Mm-hmm.
So that's like,
But they had, because they made the decision to remake The Day of the Jackal, they have to kind of stick to some of the tone of the other film, or plot devices, not tone.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And
not much of a tone.
Chris made a good point. Tiny little skinny gun in this one. Well, what can we do? Let's do a giant.
It's the American
heavy
film.
gun.
It's 90s.
God knows how he lifted that back into the van after he killed Jack Black. How did he get that thing? I mean,
Yeah, it's like, oh, damn, I should have kept him alive a little
at least
longer.
get it back in the car before I kill him. Take his limbs off.
Well, let me, unless you're going to continue.
No, I'm good.
Well, first I want to say that Debbie loved Day of the Jackal. She had never seen it. She wasn't engaged at first, but by the end, she was like, wow, this is really suspenseful. And she actually thanked me. She goes, if I wasn't just married to you, I would have never seen this film. So she was very grateful to have seen it.
Boy, her standards are.
Yeah.
Wow.
All these constant delights.
That bar is set really high.
Well, I will say she didn't care for the other one quite as much.
Well,
Though she was less troubled by Richard Gere's accent. Now, my history is I did not see Jackal, the original Jackal, Day of the Jackal, in the theaters. But I saw it when I was young, and I really liked it. And I thought it was based on a true story. Well, it is kind of. It has it. And I really loved the ending of it, where he's like buried in this unmarked grave, and you're not really sure who he ever really was.
Yeah.
But to me, it was a procedural. And the only thing that really bothered me was the death of the girl, and who was one of the stupidest people. When you go and tell them, by the way, the police were here, what did you do? Because they were like, when the police show up with machine guns and everything,
Yeah.
But
that
she
was
could have
such a
easily
gentle-
just said,
Yeah, such a
you can't stay. My husband's coming home early. And he would have left.
She had such a gentle death, though.
Yeah.
So-
And that's what Debbie turned to me and goes, what happened? Did he, one of you said, did he poison her?
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
It's like,
But I did
I
see a
don't
little boob, so
understand
that
that.
was okay.
Yeah. And by the way, those English women in their clothing didn't look like they had very nice bodies till they got out of their clothes. I was like, wow.
That's
Holy
probably a body
cow.
double. That's probably a body
I
double.
don't know, man. No, I don't think so.
I think so.
no.
Where'd that
So-
come from?
So I really love the original one. And I got to admit, you're kind of rooting for the Jackal, too, in a way. I'm sort of like, take the shot.
Not at all. He was a dick. I mean, that guy's an
Yeah, but you
ass.
got to admire his professionalism.
Oh, very professional. Yes, he killed that old lady, karate chopped her. I assume she's dead with that
Yeah,
karate
well,
chop.
Judo chop.
at first I thought when that happened, with the old lady who owned the rooming house or whatever, I'm like, hopefully he just hurt her. I'm like, no, he couldn't have just hurt her because he didn't know how long it would take. He had to kill her, or she could have alerted the police. So I really liked the first one. And here's my feelings about the second film. I had seen it in the movie theater. I know I had seen it, but I really didn't remember it much other than the leads. And a lot of times, not in every scene, but in a lot of the scenes, I'm like, oh yeah. I'd like remember the location. And I'm like, yeah, I did see this. And then I forgot the rest of the scene. Then I'm like, maybe I didn't see this movie. And then like 3 scenes later, something would happen. I'm like, yeah, I did see this film. And I'm just thinking about it. This is the most forgettable film I've ever seen. And it's not a question of, well, I love Jackal, because I wasn't so enamored. I mean, I really liked the film, but it isn't like, oh, this is one of the touchstones of my life. They better not touch the Day of the Jackal. I mean, it was, but there were just so many things, and particularly watching it afterwards, how stupid this was compared to the other one. The main thing was like the gun. It's like, why would he get a gun that he had to take it on a boat? And then he goes in a boat race, and to like get the gun over here. It's literally, I think there's 1 million places in the border he could have crossed over from Canada, and it's like why did he have to get a gun that big? It's just
wasn't his whole thing about making a statement.
Sean, why are you driving Lyft when clearly you have an inclination towards professional murder? I mean, you've got.
I know you've got to do it better. So no, it's. And I'm not going to get into the Richard Gere accent. Now, Bruce Willis might have been okay if it wasn't for all the goofy disguises.
I was thinking just the opposite. All the hair.
It was like every scene he showed up, you expected, a Groucho Marx.
Well, I mean, yeah, his hair was all over the place, and
every scene he looks completely.
He used the magnet to move the hair around. Yeah. That's what that reminded me of. Every time he changed his look.
And then he has like the pillow for the stomach. And he's like, he does an accent, and I'm like, this is why he did the role. Other than like probably
it was a showy role.
$5 to $10 million, But it was like really goofy stuff. I mean, I really just felt like. It was like, to me, it was like a running, it wasn't effective to me. It was like a running gag. Now, I am going to agree, I do think the scene with Jack Black, that was great. And this was an early film of him that I had seen. I mean, I loved him in Twister. Was he in Twister?
Yeah.
You keep saying that. He was.
Yeah.
I don't
He drove one of the vans, didn't he, if I remember right?
Or is that
him and Philip J. Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Phil J. Hoffman. That was Philip Hoffa. Philip J. Jimmy Hoffa.
I don't remember Jack Black being in Twister, but he might.
Well, he was good in this. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he was
and he's
good.
really kind of thin. I mean, he's got a stomach. Look at him behind.
The first movie I saw that I go Jack Black. It was High Fidelity. That's the first time where I went. Okay, that's
he should have stopped acting.
But he did Waterworld before that, didn't he?
Right,
I think he did.
They say the first time he noticed him. Really.
Oh yeah.
That's the first time. Yeah,
he's very funny in Waterworld.
School of Rock.
Because that's the scene where
best movie.
The little girl's waving.
He's not
at
in
him.
Twister.
Yeah.
It's Philip Seymour Hoffman. Sorry.
Yeah.
It wasn't Jay Hoffman. It was his brother.
It was Jay
Hoffman.
Hoffman.
So that's but again, that's the big scene and the big Canon lens and the video thing. It was just like, it was great. I mean, it's great, but that's one tiny scene in the whole film. The rest of it was.
All right, come on.
Yeah, but I just didn't.
You've been awfully quiet.
It's sort of like I didn't buy the relationship between the FBI and the Russians. I mean, I liked Sidney Poitier in it. I think he definitely brought up the class level on it. Mm-hmm. I didn't buy the whole Irish terrorist helping him, being distrusted, then being trusted, then running around with a gun. Sorry, he wasn't a terrorist. He was a soldier. He shouldn't be treated like a terrorist.
Well,
did you not like Deanne Venora, the Russian with the scar?
Well, I just had a problem with the whole Russian thing.
The whole Russian.
And I also didn't think
$70 million. What?
Yeah, I had a problem with the whole setup. And I don't think. And what year was this movie made?
97.
that I think he could have got this killing done for less than $70 million.
Should have haggled a little more.
Didn't get it done, so
That's
Yeah,
true.
but he still paid half up front like in the other one.
Yeah.
I think he could have gotten them for 35. I think they got him for the movie for probably 10 to 15.
Okay.
So
We
I
haven't
think,
even talked about J.K. Simmons. I'm looking at the trailer right here as I'm on IMDb.
yeah.
J.K. Simmons is in there. He
Yeah,
gets
it's got-
brutally murdered.
It's a good cast. They're not all used well. But, to me, it was, I mean, like, it's hard for me to talk about it because it's already fading from my memory. It literally is. I mean, it's like J.K. Simmons. I love J.K. Simmons. It's like, wait a minute, was he in it? It's sort of like it's already.
Yeah, when I think of the movie is a scene behind you. That's it. That's the only scene I remember in the film.
right.
Is the Jack Black
And the stupid shooting of the gun, too. I guess the gun was cool, but it shows the difference between someone who wants to make a procedural about sort of like a realistic assassination and then some fantasy, penal substitution.
Was Charles Dugall really like that? Where he's like, I don't care if people are trying to kill me. I'm going out there anyway. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charles de Gaulle was absolutely that kind of, like legendary personality, general French figure, controversial.
Vive la France.
One thing I read was
hated
the guy
him.
they hired to play him in the film looks so much like him that some of the extras that they had behind him were like flipping out, like fainting.
Thought it was really him?
They thought it was really him.
Wow.
A very distinctive profile, and
Yeah.
certainly looked like him in the movie.
Yeah, that's what they said.
I thought
One
it
of
was
you
him.
said something about the moving the gun, and to me that's kind of like the movies are very different in tone, obviously, but the idea of the like I'm going to commission this weapon in the original, and it's a very small, precise, very like surgical kind of weapon. Like his whole thing is I got to get away, otherwise what's the point? So I'm going to shoot him, hopefully with one shot, and then I'm going to vanish. And that gun was designed to do that. And, and whatever might happen, and he succeeded. I mean, I love that at the very end, he misses by total chance. So Gaulle just leans forward. That movie is amazing. But the one of the biggest things is the American version has to amp everything up. And one of you, I don't know if it was Chris, said something about like, how do you move the gun back into the car? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I said Jack
so
once he kills Jack.
Oh, that's okay. So the gun, they say the gun is Polish. It's a ZSU 33, 14.5 millimeter machine gun cannon. That's not a real gun, but it's clearly supposed to be KPV, which is a 14.5 millimeter cannon. And to make it for the movie, they took an M2 heavy barrel 50 caliber machine gun and put a bunch of extra crap on it. And that weighs 84 pounds, which I think is plausible for Bruce Willis to carry back to the car. The actual KPV is about 108 pounds. So, maybe you should have cast Stallone in the role if you want to do that. But the real mystery and how heavy is this big American penis gun is that mount. I have no idea how much that mount weighs. Right. He said it was made of titanium, which would make it lighter. But I still think that part of why you end up thinking about things like that is because this movie it's so bad. Like I remembered that it sucked, and it sucked a little bit less than I remembered, but it still sucks. And I think if the Day of the Jackal didn't exist, this would just be kind of a middling 90s forgettable action movie.
Yeah,
I saw The Day of the Jackal. I actually read the book first. I went through a whole phase growing up where I was reading all Frederick Forsyth and Ken Follett and John le Carré and all those thrillers, and still classic amazing stuff. And then started watching some of the movies. And I have not seen The Day of the Jackal in many, many, many years. And it was so fun to go back and watch it again. It's just such a great movie. I did remember one thing that confused me the first time that still confused me this time. You've cast French and British actors and then mixed up. Some of the British actors speaking with an English accent are playing French characters. So I was like, wait, is he British? Is he French? I thought that was kind of a weird choice. But it was really just so satisfying. And I think that Michael Lonsdale's energy, I would call it a Walter Matthau energy.
Yeah, definitely.
The whole tone of it, like I tapped all of your phones. Yeah, like that, it was just great. It was really satisfying. And at the end, when he has his victory over the villain, and then it's just like, okay, it's over. I did my job. He's not famous. Nobody knows what he did. Done. They just throw away the body. The whole like it's not even the guy who he said he was. It was very mysterious. And mostly what I remember about Bruce Willis is silly disguises and him going like this most of the movie. And it was just like, it was so silly.
playing-
And there are great people in it, like Diane Venora and Sidney Poitier, and Richard Gere's obviously been in a lot of good stuff, but I didn't think it was insulting because it wasn't a good adaptation. It just wasn't a good movie.
No, but again, compared to the classic, it's hard to be. I mean, what?
Sure.
I mean, how can you do it? You can't win. It's a no.
Well, that's the whole thing about remakes, right? That's
I know.
why we're doing the show.
I know.
There
It's a
are
couple.
remakes that are better than the original, but it's not common. And there are movies that are better than the books that they're adapted from, including the authors will tell you that. So it can happen, but
Right.
it depends on where what the point is. If the point is I'm going to take that book and I'm going to make it bigger and more American, I don't know if that's
louder.
I don't know if that's a recipe for success anyway. So,
All right. Well, it's a daunting task, I think, and
sure.
And then when the author takes his name off it, and the director doesn't want the name to be the Day of the Jackal, they all knew.
And
it was
Zinnemann
shite.
wrote the. Didn't he write the screenplay too, Chris, of the original? I think he did, right?
I believe
I
so.
remember right. Yeah, I think he did. This
Yeah,
was
he-
based on his screenplay, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
But it
what?
Still made money.
I do want to say about Richard Gere, who I've always enjoyed, and if I say he was in that movie, what was that movie with Gene Hackman that was his big star turn, where he was a spy? No, was that Kevin Costner?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Kevin.
Everybody
Costner.
knows
Out.
No Way
No
Out
Way Out?
starred
No Way
Philip
Out.
Seymour Hoffman. Okay.
I was going to just say, don't say it stars Philip Seymour Hoffman. I was setting that up. You got it there.
Thank you.
But it's like Richard Gere has not done a lot of really high profile movies in a very long time.
He owns a bed and breakfast in Vermont or New Hampshire.
He did Chicago. That was a big one that he
Yeah.
did.
He's
That
a
was
rest-
2002.
He's a restaurateur
I know.
now.
That was
21 years
2002.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Brooklyn's Finest is probably the last
Oh, he
one
just
of
did.
these
You
I've
guys seen Arbitrage? He did Arbitrage a couple years
Oh
ago.
yeah,
That
sure.
was 2012.
That's a while already. Yeah.
Arbitrage was
Wow.
2012?
Yeah.
No way.
And then
I
he did
challenge
Best
that.
Exotic,
I
second
challenge
best.
that. You Blue Jack.
No, I
Black, and
just looked
Twister.
at it. I'm looking at it right now.
Arbitrage was not 2012. That can't
I
be.
got nowhere else to go.
It was
I got nowhere else to
2012,
go.
yeah.
It was. Holy cow.
So think about it. He's a really good actor. I think he's got a lot of charisma, but part of me thinks, because he took that stand on Tibet, he can't be cast in big mainstream films that are going to play in China. He's blacklisted.
Did you ever see the Mothman Prophecies he did?
Yes, I saw that in the theaters.
I did have a makeup artist tell me that he has the silkiest hair she's ever done. I mean, it's glorious, she said. It's like he's just Richard Gere, right? It's like, oof.
Now, I'm wondering about his accent in this movie. It sounds like someone else has an Irish accent.
The
Yeah, it
guy
sounds
from
like the
we were
Lucky
saying,
Charms
Austin
guy off
Powers,
the
that
cereal.
guy, the guy with the
I
Lucky
know you're right.
Charms.
It's the Lucky Charms.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It was
great
Magic.
I
Bill
mean,
was-
it's got to be hard for them. I mean, he's trying his best, right? They had linguists there. They had trainers.
But you have to know.
She had a
pretty
Russian
quickly.
trainer. He had an Irish.
You have to
trainer.
know pretty quickly that it's just not working, and
It's
you got
shite.
to make
Your
a
accent is
decision. Yeah, I mean,
But
come
he
on.
kept it.
I know. So
It
did
was
Tom
like that
Cruise
medical
when he played an
drama.
Irish guy, and his accent was terrible too.
Who was
And I
it?
love Tom Cruise.
Okay.
Far
Yeah,
Away.
Yeah, far and away. It was that accent was
Say
terrible.
it like my hat. Say it like my hat.
It
Well,
actually
but a
hot.
true Irish film like the Banshees of Inisherin, you can't
Yeah.
understand anything they're saying.
Well, that's the commitment. The commitments. The first
Right.
20 minutes of the commitments, you know anything that they're saying.
So
Should have been subtitled.
So one last little bit, one little
Okay.
note, one of my favorite things, as we're all Baltimore, well, all but John, our Baltimore guys are from the area, right? In the TV show The Wire, one of the best crime shows ever made, there's a scene where one of the drug dealers, Stringer Bell, gets ripped off by a crooked politician, state senator, and he says to one of his, his muscle guys, one of his gunmen, "Go kill this guy." And the other kind of head crime guy, Avon Barksdale, says, no, you can't do that. You'd have the FBI, you'd have Maryland State Police. He's like, to kill a state senator. He's like, you need a Day of the Jackal, motherfucker, to do that. I always
forgot
love
about
the
that.
idea. I always love that always stuck with me. 'Cause I always love the idea that Baltimore drug kingpin Avon Barksdale would know Day of the Jackal.
Well, actually, the
good.
writer George, what's his name?
Well, sure.
Pelicanos.
I'm sure it was George.
Pelicanos. I'm sure he.
That guy that
came from his
that you
childhood.
don't go to parties with. That guy.
I did not allow him into one of my
Oh,
parties.
okay.
I
That
didn't
guy.
know he
It
didn't know
is
who
that
I
guy.
was. I didn't know who he was. You know, what are you gonna do? That's my brush with fame. All right. Well, yeah. So we're just basically in agreement that the Jackal sucked, but had some couple of good moments, right? I mean, pretty much. Yeah. Jack Black scene. Not.
It's not bad enough that I ended up feeling very strongly about it.
Yeah.
I will say I was surprised, honestly, because I've only seen it once, 25 years ago or whatever. I was surprised I wasn't more bored. It does move along at a pretty good clip and everything.
Wait a minute. What movie were we talking about?
The one you forgot already. And those metro scenes, those subway scenes were Canada, not the metro.
Oh
here.
no, yeah, you could tell.
Yeah.
It's funny because they look a lot like the DC Metro.
They do, but the
quite.
color tiles on the floor are different.
It was the tiles on the floor. Yeah. They were like squares and not hexagons.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's not good to know enough. It's sort of like the second Die Hard film where they're like holding Dulles.
Yes, and you're like,
And you're sitting there thinking, why don't they just go to BWI or
all the payphones say Pacific Bell.
Pacific Bell.
Yeah.
You know.
And speaking of No Way Out, they dive down into a metro in Georgetown, right? They just put up one of those metro signs. It's like, what the hell? Anyway, so that's a little hometown. All right, so okay, it's over with that one.
Sure.
You know, watching I'm glad we did it because I did enjoy the Day of the Jackal.
Yeah,
have a little
that's a great
qualms
movie.
about some of the
Classic.
karate chops and 2-second strangulations, but other than that, it was great.
I'm
And
gonna,
that
one
gun
thing I
was
can say positive?
super cool. What's that?
I'm gonna say
this
this
film. Sorry, this
I was
film.
just gonna say what you go, Sean.
Ping pong.
This
ping pong,
film
ping pong.
actually made me feel better about the Ghostbusters remake because I think that was a better remake than this one.
I don't know.
We can't do that. Don't start doing that. Oh my god.
But here's the thing about your 2-second strangulation. I had a friend of mine who was really into karate, and one time he stuck his thumb into my carotid artery, and I literally lost all sensation and tumbling to the ground after 5 or 6 seconds.
What a good friend. That's awesome.
Yeah, he literally lost bowel
Maybe
control.
that's what he did. Maybe he just collapsed that and she's done.
He just kind of put a little pressure on her.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was a Vulcan.
Could be. An
It
evil.
was just weird. I just found it weird. It took me
Romulan.
out of that. It's just like
Nice.
you're right. Those scenes take you
got it,
out of
Joe.
the movie. You start
I know
thinking
you did,
about
bud.
it and you go, what? Okay, get back. All right, so let's do a little round of let's spin for the next next film.
Chris, just tell us what the
I'm
movie
gonna
is.
write
Will
it
you?
down.
Yeah. I don't even
Tell-
remember if I picked
Just
the
tell
film.
tell us what the remake's going to be.
All right, here we got a few left. I'm really rooting against Beauty and the Beast. I have to say.
Well,
The Day the Earth
can't-
Stood
I
Still
can't do
remake is awful.
Here we go.
If it is Murder on the Orient Express, we should.
How about it's Magnificent Seven?
That was my third one.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. Jesus. Okay, John.
Nice.
You can't. I can't believe. All right, so this is the most recent remake of Magnificent Seven with Ethan Hawke. And,
Yes.
Denzel
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Okay. I've
And
already
this
the
is
other ones
another
were
one.
sequels.
my homework is done.
This is first of all, the Magnificent Seven, the original, is just, I love that movie. It's a classic movie, obviously based on Seven Samurai. And actually, the Magnificent Seven remake, we've been doing a lot of remakes that just don't even compare to the
Shite.
first one.
They're shite.
Yeah, and
Shite.
this one is actually not too bad. No,
It's a
it's
lot
not
of
as good
fun.
as the first. Yeah, it is. It's
just fun.
Yeah,
Bigger
and
guns,
Denzel's really
Gatling
great.
guns.
So I'm excited about this one
Cool.
Okay.
because I haven't
That's a good
watched
one.
the second one in a while, the remake.
either.
So
I've never
it'd be good
seen
to
the
watch
remake.
it. Oh, you haven't?
Good.
Oh, good. That's
I
good.
absolutely adore the original.
Oh.
Is it Preston Sturges that did the original?
Yes, I believe it is.
And
I think so.
and I absolutely Eli Wallach is one of the great.
Calavera.
Yeah.
Haven't we done that on this show yet?
No, we talked
Seven
about it on a
Samurai.
Western show we
Oh,
did.
the West
And the
I-
Magnificent Seven is the remake.
I will say, Chris, don't be put off. Denzel Washington does have a horrific Irish accent in the Magnificent Seven remake, so don't be shocked. Like, just watch the rest of the movie. You'll get
and Vincent D'Onofrio looks like gigantic in this movie.
Oh, he's so good in this. I forgot about that. He's so good, and so is Ethan. Ethan Hawke is fantastic.
Look, it's Antoine Fuqua. Antoine Fuqua makes action movies that are nasty and fun.
The Equalizer. Didn't he do
Training
Equalizer?
Day,
He did the
Equalizer.
Equalizer.
I think he's done them all.
They're just
I
fun. He's done not everything he's done is good, but
John Sturges directed the original.
No, not Preston.
Yeah, Preston Sturges.
Yeah, who directed the Great
And you
Escape.
guys call
Palm
yourself
Beach
movie
Story.
experts.
Yeah, I
don't
knew that didn't
understand
sound right.
We only know Indian movies, Ralph.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know who is really great?
Philip J. Hoffman?
Yeah, Philip J. Hoffman is really great in Magnificent Seven. The original and the remake.
It's funny we're talking about remakes. I just watched yesterday the Red Dragon, which is basically a remake of Manhunter.
The one with, Edward Norton. Yeah,
and Philip Hoffman's in that one.
Yeah.
So
And how about Jack
Philip
Black?
Lowndes, the
Seymour
newspaper
Hoffman?
guy. Philip
Is Jack
Seymour
Black
Hoffman.
in that?
Oh, okay.
Jack Black is not.
No,
in
he's
that.
not in there.
All right, so let's do a little round of what you watch. Let's make this quick. All right, quick. Don't dwell. Sean.
Well, I've been laid off from Warner Brothers Discovery, driving Lyft. Now, I was selling some scripts, but then the writers went on strike. By the way, the actors voted to go on strike too.
So this
they
isn't
gave
going to be
strike-
short. This is going to be.
Well, they're never going
take
to
a
give the
while.
writers what they want anyway.
Yeah, the
It's
DGA
impossible.
just has a framework deal possibly, so that may accelerate it to the finish.
It does
We'll
show
have
the
to see.
difference between this one and the one in 2008 and whenever that one. There's a lot more support for this one
Yeah.
than the writers.
Well, the
had
Teamsters
in
are honoring the
2008.
pickup lines,
Yeah.
which means
So
stuff
that's-
doesn't get made.
That's a good
Yep.
sign, but it could go on for a while. And it's
But the writers, I don't want to distract you, but the writers are asking for stuff that they just can't get. And I love the writers. I consider myself one.
right.
And I was supposed to get in the union with a picture later this year, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
All right. So what do you watch?
But let's go back to the one thing I missed when I was laid off from Warner Brothers Discovery was I didn't get the opportunity to work on the TLC show MILF Manor. And it's now that they have Max instead of HBO Max, it was there, and I got to watch the first 2 episodes, and it is everything.
Is
I
that the one
imagine
where
it-
they bring the sons in?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all these older women who
it's
love
so
younger guys,
disgusting.
and then they bring in the guys, and they're all the women's sons.
Yeah, would that show have been made if it was men and daughters?
No.
No,
No.
It
Why
would
is
have been
okay the
bad
other way
also.
around?
I mean,
It
I
would've
watched
been
the first
Cougar Camp.
episode and it's terrible.
Cougar Camp? Is that what you said? Cougar Camp?
no. What was the movie you guys reviewed on
13
Cougar Lane.
cult.
Cougar Lane?
Cougar something. Yeah.
I am going to
cult.
say this,
but that's
though,
a good
Sean.
one.
When it comes to older men with younger women, that's just life. Like that wouldn't be that different.
not
of a job.
daughters.
That's Chris.
Exactly.
I do not
Shots
endorse
fired.
that. I don't endorse that.
Spot on.
No, but
No, I
it
don't
is
mean
like
that in like a positive. I don't mean that in
Oh,
like
okay.
a
That was just
Okay.
weird.
that
Jeez.
happened.
Chris, I got to be
Nobody's
honest. That
watching.
surprised me coming from you. I'm just saying.
No, I
the show.
So
is,
did you like it or not like it? Are you watching anymore or are you
well,
done?
even when I worked on there, I like to work on the most absurd stuff, the craziest stuff, and this definitely falls in that category.
MILF man.
So I probably would have enjoyed working on it more than I enjoyed watching it, but it was what it was.
A lot of Botox, a lot of
I don't
Oh my
know. I've
God,
been,
jobs.
the Botox, the
Maria is
surgery,
into all
some of
this.
the people.
So is
look like they
Rose.
just left the office.
She
like I
loves
just
all those
watched
shows.
Vanderkamp Rules or
Oh
something
my
with her,
God!
and
No, you did not.
because I'm at her house and she's watching it and she's
Oh my
tomorrow
God.
night's the final, the part 3 finale. But then we switch into the Duggins. There's this whole Duggins documentary now.
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
and those were all people I knew at TLC that brought those shows in. One of them,
You mean
think, is Dylan's
the-
godmother is one of the people who brought all those shows
the
in.
Duggars, you mean, not the Duggins.
The
There's a Duggars documentary.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah, there's a
everyone
Duggars
knew what Ralph
documentary.
meant.
I don't know where it's on Netflix or something. Yeah,
Because I definitely want to check that
It's a
out.
3-parter.
That was literally the first show I worked on at TLC.
Oh, really?
And I was actually going to meet them
Oh,
because usually I'm like totally in DC, but they were going to come to a big event in Comcast in Philadelphia, and we were going to interview them. And they're like, "Sean, you got to come up. You're working on the show." And I'm like, "Oh, this will be great." And then literally everything fell apart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they knew all that. They knew all the stuff about the kid. That's why you watch this doc. There's all this information that comes.
I can't believe that.
All right, John, are you watch anything while you're?
No, but I do want to talk about something.
Okay.
Tomorrow night they're showing the 40th anniversary of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is my favorite movie of all time. It's a wonderful, amazing film. And now that The Dial of Destiny was shown at Cannes and it is getting absolutely roasted, I haven't decided if I'm going to go see it in the movie theater because, frankly, if it's as bad as everybody is saying, that's not how I want to end my Indiana Jones movie viewing. So if I can find a theater here that's showing Raiders of the Lost Ark, I'm going to go see it tomorrow night in the theater for the first time.
Would that actually ruin Raiders for you if it was
No,
bad?
but I wouldn't want to.
He's de-aged.
The Crystal Skull almost did that.
Yeah.
But
this
what does it do?
80-year-old Harrison Ford running around? No.
Yeah, but does it
no
it ruin? It can't. Can it actually ruin your appreciation of the first film?
It will never ruin the appreciation
Right.
of the first
So
film ever.
What's the problem?
There's no problem. That's my opinion, and that's how I feel about it.
No,
I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
I'm just telling you, that movie, there was no reason for that movie to be made. It's a money grab, and that's it. You get Spielberg not involved. You got Lucas not involved. That's all you need to know about the film. It should never have been made. He's 80 years old, and I love Harrison Ford. There's no point in that. Why? They blew it with Crystal Skull, so why do they want to do this? It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think it would have been better if they made a new Indiana Jones movie with Alden Ehrenreich? Would that have been a better choice?
With who?
Alden Ehrenreich, who played Solo in the Solo movie.
Oh, yeah. You know what?
He was in Grizzly, right? He was in the Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine.
Mhm.
Oh, someone
great in
just sent me something.
And Hail Caesar.
Crack Raccoon is coming out. So
I thought that was
same
Guardians of the
guys who
Galaxy
did
3.
Sharknado. Probably
I got to go
but-
see that. But anyway, that's all. That movie means a lot to me, and I just don't want to see it go out that way. If what I'm reading is true, and the people who are writing it, I trust. So
John,
yeah,
you weren't thrown off the Mystery of the Blues, Indiana Jones and the Mystery of the Blues did not upset you?
Indiana Jones and the Mystery of the Blues. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
The show.
that when Harrison Ford reprised his role.
Oh, you mean the young
Chronicles.
Indiana Jones
For
Chronicles?
the young Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That was when
I mean, that- at
Lucas
least that
went
was-
back and re-edited them.
I know with the no, yeah. You know what I mean?
Called
It's
it was
such
called The
that
Mystery of the
character.
Blues.
It just for me that character, that role, that movie just means so much to me, and I just hate to see it. That's
Did you
all.
like the
that's
second
what
one?
it does to me
I love
too.
I love the second one. I thought the third one was an absolutely brilliant way to end it.
Yes.
That would have been a
With
perfect
Sean
ending.
Connery riding off into the sunset. They didn't need to make another one as much as I love that character. I would have rather seen either a reboot or unfortunately River Phoenix died, a young Indiana Jones. That would have been very interesting. But to get him out there 80 years old doing the stuff that he's doing, to me is because it's you can even see in the trailers it's mostly CGI, which they didn't do in all the other movies. Well, they did in Crystal Skull. It's just not good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll
I
tell
went
you
too
what
long.
these bad sequels do to me. They make me not want to see any more of them. Sort of like Matrix 3, and then they did that awful one that I finally did.
That's the one. I've never seen that movie. I don't even want to watch it.
But I didn't like the two sequels to the Matrix.
They were awful.
Yeah,
But I
one
definitely
was bad,
wanted to
and the other
see-
one was horrible.
But I was interested enough to watch it, and it turns out it wasn't that great. I mean, the last one, she was the director. Which way did she transition? She was definitely after Warner Brothers. I mean, that was a movie that was just putting down Warner Brothers, and that was fun. But the rest of it kind of sucked.
Right.
Yeah, it's an in joke
Yeah.
that
Totally.
52 people will
But
enjoy.
we always talk about this, that if they remade Jaws and it sucked, although Jaws 4 was the abomination, Jaws 3 and 4 were just like, what the hell?
See, I wouldn't see them.
It doesn't affect at all
3D.
my feeling for Jaws. As a matter of fact, there's a new Lego set coming out that I can't wait to get my hands on. The
Jaws
orca
Lego
and the
set?
shark and the three little guys. I can't wait. So I don't know. I don't have that worry that a shitty sequel is going to make me hate the first one.
Doesn't make me hate
First
it,
of all,
but
I
it-
never said that it would make me hate the first one. That's
I
not
guess
what I said.
I'm not representing that properly. I don't even
You're
know
not.
why it would matter
It does.
for me. That's all. For me, it wouldn't. I don't.
It's just sad you're watching it and then you say,
I think
oh,
that's what it
man.
is more than anything, Sean. It's sad.
You feel bad for the actor or the whole
Yeah.
thing?
I do feel bad for the actor because he knows what's coming. You can.
He doesn't care. He's smoking.
He does
weed,
care.
having
You
a
don't think
blast.
Harrison Ford cares?
No, I don't think he
does.
gives a shit. I bet you he's the coolest dude in the world.
Well,
doesn't
that's
care.
He
There's
gave an
no doubt in
interesting
my mind.
interview recently, a very long interview that he doesn't normally do.
Yeah. So
He seems to care, but
he used to be the carpenter of the stars. So
Hopefully the movie will give us at least a few scenes or moments that'll feel right. Like Crystal Skull's not a good movie, but I think the whole campus library chase sequence, which is real stunts, and all, like, that is as good as any other Indiana Jones action sequence. When I watched that movie and we got to that point, I was like, oh, okay, all right, this is happening, this is doing it, and then it never gets back to that tone
and
again.
Kate Blanchett, she was the villain, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I liked her in that.
Yeah. I don't know enough about what this movie is to say that I think it's going to be good or bad. I'm definitely going to see it in the theater. That was the attitude I had when I saw The Phantom Menace. It didn't pay off so well, but I don't think it's very rare for me to see a sequel and go, this was so bad it ruined the other stuff, because I just won't watch it again.
Yeah.
what'd you watch this week, Drew?
For Memorial, I had to record a bunch of shows tonight, so I couldn't do what I keep wanting to do on D-Day and forget. Now that I've got a full surround sound setup and everything, still haven't watched Saving Private Ryan on D-Day. I think that would be lighthearted fun. But for Memorial Day, Kelly and I wanted to watch a movie, and then I remember the first gift I ever gave her was a DVD. And they just put out recently a brand new 4K release, remastered, fantastic version of this film. So I bought it and I gave it to her, and we had a nice romantic Memorial Day watching the movie Red Dawn, which was
the original.
Not the remake.
The remake is not as bad as everyone says, but it's not a good movie. And if that ended up on the wheel, that would be an interesting discussion. Red Dawn is so entertaining and completely insane. Like, it's really a crazy movie, and John Milius, who did Apocalypse Now and the Conan the Barbarian, and like it's just a really insane movie. Plus, it's really fun to see all these super young actors. They're so young, Leah Thompson and Jennifer Grey and C. Thomas Howell and Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, and it just goes on and on. All these people, like
that opening scene, Drew, when they're parachuting in, that is a disturbing scene.
Oh no, there's a lot in the movie.
School. Yeah,
there's a lot in the movie that's very unsettling, and I had forgotten that is actually the first PG-13 movie ever released. And I had forgotten that it gets bloodier. It's violent from the beginning, but it actually gets bloodier as it goes along. Like, by the time they're executing their friend who got captured and they made him swallow a transmitter and stuff, I mean, there's squibs all day. It's really violent. It's really nasty. And it's not subtle at all, which is very John Milius. This was like right at the moment where the NRA became a religious organization. And there's all this stuff in like one of the first scenes where you see the Cubans, because that's who would invade Colorado, and the Russians talking about rounding up people. They're like, go and get the form that the people submit when they register that they owned a gun, because we're going to get those people first. Like, it's a weird paranoid fantasy. It's also a pretty cool action movie. And this version of it, I mean, this movie looks amazing. I mean, they shot it in Colorado. It's gorgeous. And the blood is very red, and the gunfire, apparently they shot with a lot of live ammunition. That's the story Jennifer Grey and other people have said about the movie.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Well, it sounds like that's something he would do, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, there's a documentary about Milius. I believe it's just called Milius.
Yeah,
I think Ralph has mentioned it before. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was really a fun way to spend Memorial Day. Really enjoyed that. And I recommend it. It's worth revisiting. It was also, I remember that was one of the first movies that I saw a trailer for, because I was, I think 8 when it came out. I was not allowed to see it in the theater, so I didn't see it for some time. But the ads and the trailers came out, and there were all these scenes that are in the trailer that are not in the movie, like a tank pulling up to McDonald's and all this stuff. And there is no other cut. Like, obviously they shot those things, but there is no other cut. There's no director's cut or anything. So that was kind of an interesting thing to be falling in love with movies as a little kid and noticing that.
But no extras on the 4K? Nothing.
There are extras. They're on the Blu-ray disc, which was released, I guess, in 2017. So there's a bunch of interviews and catching up with, I think, the DP and some other people, and it is interesting. But it's definitely one of those things. It stands on its own, and also the soundtrack is so great. It's Basil Polidoris, who went on to do stuff like RoboCop and Hunt for October, and it's just a really great score. And speaking of music, the other thing, which I have recommended this before, they finished their 3rd season. The show Dave, about the rapper Lil Dicky, wrapped up its 3rd season. Unbelievable television show. They are doing stuff that no other show is doing. It's creative and it's crazy and it's unsettling. And they have some very, very big movie stars show up in this season for what you think are cameos. And there's so much more than that. And the it's comedy, it's music, it's cringe, it's ambition, it's so many great things. And so the last season, the end was completely insane in a wonderful way, and this was even more so. So they're like 30 minutes each, and they're on FXX, which means they're on Hulu. And I would definitely recommend you check out Dave, and don't read anything about it, and don't care if you've never heard of Lil Dicky or heard any of his music, or you don't like hip hop or anything like that. He is really like he's doing like a Larry David version of himself, Curb Your Enthusiasm type of show, and it's really incredible, really incredible.
All right, cool. Chris.
Yeah, I'll jump into it in a minute. But speaking of Basil Polidoris, he actually did the soundtrack or did the score for Conan the Barbarian, another Milius movie.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Another great score.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
And they're talking about doing a remake of that.
They already did. It sucked.
Yeah.
No, I mean another one.
Oh, good. That's what we need to do. Jason Momoa should come back again with a better director.
Yeah. So funny enough, speaking of Richard Gere, and the movie The Jackal, I saw for the first time, had never seen it, American Gigolo.
Wow.
No idea that movie was written and directed by Paul Schrader. I have no idea how that slipped by me all these years. I had always known about the film. I knew it was Gere's big starring role, blah, 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 all this stuff. But I never really held a lot of interest for me. I sat down and I watched it, and man, that is a crazy movie. Like, that is a weird, twisted, great film.
Yeah, there's a murder that happens in that, right? Isn't that the whole point of that film?
That's what happens is he plays an extremely the American Gigolo at the top of his game in LA. He's with women only.
Oh damn.
Bill Duke is great in it as a pimp. And basically he is so at the top of his game. He basically makes his own rules, kind of thing. He's the guy. He speaks multiple languages and all this kind of stuff. And the funny thing about this movie, you watch the film and you're like, wow, that's like the most 80s movie ever. And it has got to be one of the most insane cases of life imitating art ever. I looked it up. That movie was released in February of 1980. Like, it was basically as the 80s began, it came out. It is literally, people say it's the reason Armani became as big in America as it was, because he's dressed like head to toe in Armani. But you watch it and it is so 80s, and you're just like, man, like the people who were doing the costumes and all of that stuff.
Lauren Hutton was in that, right?
Yes, Lauren Hutton is in it. They just must have been seeing things on the edge. And, it in a lot of ways, it is a really brave performance by Gere, because there are all these references to like his days in the early days, doing, gay tricks and all this kind of stuff. And there's gay clubs, and it's just really, really kind of a brave performance. And of course, at the time, sorry, John, but it was the first time a major male star was full frontal nudity.
Oh, we're going to watch it now.
In a rated R movie. So you see the full Gere.
It was no cruising without
the full
Pacino.
Richard, you could say.
Cruising's a good one.
Yeah, cruising's great too, but it was not. But like I said, it's just one of those things where you just turn something on and you're like, whoa, where?
That was Blondie song, right? Call me.
Yeah.
Well, that was from that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
that's right after he did Looking for Mr. Goodbar too. That was right around the same time.
That was a few years before that.
Yeah. So
the thing are you
going to watch the Showtime show?
Yeah,
John
John
Bernthal.
Blumenthal. Is that?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I have Showtime, but it's not available on Showtime.
Yeah, I think it's on Vudu and Amazon or something like that, because all these places are dumping shows that they're streaming and sort of thing.
And it's crazy because it's like 2021. It's like a new show, but
Yeah.
like I looked it up and it was like not on there. Anyway,
Yeah.
Well, thank God we can still see Velma.
interestingly enough, though, talking about the Call Me,
Scooby-Doo without Scooby-Doo.
yeah. Interestingly enough, though, about the song "Call Me," Giorgio Modero or whatever his name is, Moroder. Thank you. Yes, he reworks that song like 8 different times in the film. It's really, on the one hand, you'd think you'd get sick of it, but it just kind of keeps replaying. I don't know. I just had a real.
It's like California Dreaming.
Like, that's a great.
Everybody calls him Giorgio.
Yeah, what was that film? The California.
Yeah,
Dreaming
from the
was on
Daft Punk song, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah,
California Dreaming one was Chungking Express.
Right.
Exactly.
That's right.
But this is like he literally reworks it with different instruments, with different tempos, and it's great. So
Excellent.
if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Check it out. All right. I'll be quick since nobody else was except for John. Thank you, John. You were quick. You were about to yell at me. I could see that.
No, I wasn't.
2 of my shows ended this last week. Memorial Day was the last show. Succession's finished. Yep. Succession is done. Yep. I'm not going to say anything, Sean. I would love you guys to watch it so we can talk about it because it's an amazing show.
Yeah, it's very good.
The writing,
Debbie thought they were too
the
mean.
acting.
I don't think she wants to finish it.
The whole point of them is they're mean. So,
they're all awful.
I think she would like. I think she would like the wrap up of it, maybe. And I also watched the last White House Plumbers, and it's only a 5-episode one. That's with Woody Harrelson and Justin Theroux as G. Gordon Liddy. And I have to be honest, it made me fall in love with G. Gordon Liddy. I used to listen to him here when he was on WJFK years and years ago. But he really comes off as kind of a, I'm not going to say good guy, bad guy, whatever, but he definitely comes off as an interesting character. And Theroux did a great job playing him. And the two of them together on talk shows and stuff, you can tell they really like each other. I'm talking about Woody and Justin Theroux because they both executive produced it. And it's a nice little quick 5-episode series that kind of really dives into the Watergate.
Thank God, it's good to have just the right length.
Yeah, it was well done, and it just got me in my obsession again about Watergate. So I really enjoyed that. But it's over, so I had to move on to Blind Ambition, starring Martin Sheen, which was the John Dean film that came out that John Dean wrote with his wife. Lots of that. So anyway,
wait a minute, was it Blonde Ambition?
Blind Ambition. Blind Ambition.
Okay.
Blind Blonde Ambition.
Blind Blonde. Anyway, all right. Not starring Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay.
Was not in that one. All right, so that's it. Good
Jack
week.
Black.
Next week we're doing the Magnificent 7 remake.
Kind of the Magnificent 14.
What?
Since we're going to watch 2 7s, that would be 14.
I don't have to watch either. I've seen them both. And this is like I don't have to do the homework, although I will watch the remake again because I love that movie. I'm giving away my spoiler of my review.
It's a fun horse opera.
It really is fun. It's well done. So we'll watch that one. All right. So everybody have a good week. Hit the button, John. What did you don't care anymore at the end of these?
No, because no one's watching at this point. Subscribe, hit the
We've
notification
been getting some
button.
views on these.
No, I'm not saying we do get views, but they don't wait this long.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but you should subscribe anyway. I mean, you don't get this. You don't get this anywhere.
Yeah. This is insane.
Or at least subscribe because you'll get Indian Cinemaniacs content. So
that's true. That's our big.
We don't get a lot of crossover.
No, there's not.
Well, we do get more.
I'm trying. I am really pushing the Indian
Amir
films on
Khan
people.
hasn't made a version of Day of the Jackal yet.
I wish I'd see that in a heartbght.
Man,
If
I
he
just
played
saw-
if he played Indiana Jones, I'd love that.
I cannot remember who it was. Some gigantic Indian movie star just signed with William Morris.
Yeah,
last week.
No, it was AJ, wasn't it?
No, it was somebody else.
No, it was someone else. You're right.
But like that's very interesting. We'll see if some of these
If it
Indian
translates over here.
actors end up in American movies, and then we can finally get some viewers on this show when we talk about their remakes of Magnificent Seven or whatever. So
yeah, that would be great. All right, well let's do that. All right, John, stay safe in Florida.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
see you guys.
Great.
Bye, guys.
Good one.